Hello everyone, my name is Luo Lan. I'm from Guangxi University of Foreign Languages. I'm so honored to share with you my academic ideas and questions via Zoom on this special occasion. Today, I'm going to present with you the mobile assisted language learning, cognitive load, and task motivation. I will walk you through the three main parts of my presentation: the introduction, methodology, and the results and conclusion of my study. Firstly, I would like to introduce some basic ideas and concepts of my presentation. Actually, prior studies have shown the positive effects of motivation of learners on their language learning. There are three main types of motivation. They include learner-related factors, the context-related factors, such as the interaction between teachers and the students, or the environment of the classroom. And the third types are task-related factors. So task motivation refers to the task characteristics, including the task types, the task structures, etc., that serve as incentives to successful completion of the task. Actually, the learner's motivation vary with different types of tasks and their moment-to-moment task interaction processes. The cognitive load, or CL, refers to the amount of working memory resources used by the learner. According to the cognitive load theory, our working memory is exposed to several types of cognitive load, and our learning is hindered if the working memory is overloaded. Cognitive load can be characterized into three types. Firstly, it is the intrinsic cognitive load, which is caused by the intrinsic nature of the tasks. The extraneous cognitive load is caused by the irrelevant information of the tasks. It can cause havoc on our working memory. The third type, germane cognitive load, which comes from the deep processing of the new information by organizing and connecting it with prior knowledge. Actually, it is believed that the germane cognitive load can enhance learning and should be encouraged in task design. Regarding the relationship between task motivation and cognitive load, previous studies gave us heterogeneous conclusion. For example, some researchers argued that there is an inverse relationship between cognitive load and the language learner's task motivation. In other words, the learners are much more likely to be discouraged by tasks that entail higher cognitive load. However, other researchers gave us disagrees. For example, Knowles in 2008 argues that temporal tension, a measure of cognitive load, can engage and motivate the learners. From my point of view, these heterogeneous conclusions are due to their broad brush nature. It means that they did not investigate the relationship between task motivation and specific types of cognitive load, which is a research gap that the current study aims to fill. So the present study aims to investigate the relationship between motivation and specific types of cognitive load mediated by different tasks. Specifically, we narrow our focus on listening and listening to speaking tasks integrated with mobile devices. When interest in mobile assisted language learning, or MOLE, was brought to the fore in the past decades. MOLE refers to the utilization of mobile technologies to language learning. It is believed to motivate the learners to earn autonomy in their studies and become the mappers of their learning journey. Moreover, by using MOLE, we can control the context-related factors as in the classroom. The potential contribution of the current study may lie in that it can expand the scope of more related research and may shed light on the future studies to explore the role of cognitive load in task motivation. So based on the previous discussion, we aim to answer 2 research questions. The first one is, what are the relationships between the students' perceived cognitive loads and task motivation? And the second research question is that, how can we explain this kind of relationship? To answer these questions, we have recruited 65 Chinese participants from WeChat groups of an AI-driven English learning mobile application. Actually, WeChat is a platform in China for users to send messages, communicate with each other, and share information, just like WhatsApp. The participants were rewarded with red envelopes, a way of distributing cash through electronic payments, if they actively participate in the study. Whatever the proficiency level of the participants, in each lesson they have to listen to a lifelike dialogue presented with pictures and to complete a combination of 3 listening-based tasks. As we can see from the picture, task 1 is a 3-option multiple choice question with the options written. Task 2 requires the learners to repeat what they have heard in the oral input, aided by a theme-related picture. And task 3 is a human-computer dialogue task, where the learners had to respond to pieces of information they heard before. Their spoken outputs in both Task 2 and Task 3 were graded according to the quality of their pronunciation and whether their utterances were matched exactly to the prescribed sentences. Each lesson required the learners to study for at least 30 minutes. Each participant completed a consent sheet, a background questionnaire about his or her age and gender, and 2 7-point Likert scale questionnaire measuring task motivation and cognitive load. The task motivation questionnaire was adapted from a previous researcher's motivational variables on the post-task motivation questionnaire, which comprises task enjoyment, report effort, result assessment, and perceived relevance. The cognitive load self-report questionnaire was adapted from another prior researcher's questionnaire. So the first 2 items were related to intrinsic cognitive load. The 3rd and 4th items related to germane cognitive load, while the last 3 items related to extraneous cognitive load. All items were rated on 7-point Likert scales from completely disagree to absolutely agree. The items in both questionnaires were written in English and the learner's first language, as we can see from the picture at the right side of the slide. After the data collection, 2 questionnaires were found to contain more than 2 unanswered questions, so we eliminated the 2 subjects from the survey. Thus, we have 63 questionnaires to be analyzed. We initially analyzed the reliability of the 2 questionnaires. Subsequently, we conducted a Pearson product moment correlation analysis to determine the connection between different types of cognitive load and motivation. Multiple linear regressions were also carried out to examine the contribution of different types of cognitive load to task motivation. Now here comes the result. The Cronbach alpha for the 2 questionnaires and for the 3 subscales are listed. As we can see from the Table 1, Table 1 presents the descriptive results of all the variables of the 3 tasks. Generally, the participants reported the most motivation in Task 2 and the least in Task 3. Regarding cognitive load, Task 3 caused the most intrinsic cognitive load, extraneous cognitive load, and total cognitive load. Task 2 caused the most germane cognitive load and the second most task cognitive load. All data were normally distributed since the absolute value of skewedness and the kurtosis were less than 3 and 10 respectively. A Pearson product moment correlation test was conducted to explore the relationship between the cognitive load and the task motivation. As demonstrated in Table 2, the total cognitive load, intrinsic cognitive load, and germane cognitive load significantly correlated with the task motivations. As we can see from this table, in Task 1 and Task 2, the total cognitive load correlated positively with the task motivation. In contrast, in Task 3, the total cognitive load is negatively correlated with the task motivation. Unlike in Task 3, the extraneous cognitive load did not show significant correlation with the task motivation in Task 1 and Task 2. Subsequently, multiple linear regression were performed to predict the task motivation. It is the dependent variable, based on 3 types of cognitive load. So cognitive load here is the independent variable. This table, Table 3, presents a summary of the results. In Task 1, a significant regression equation was found. Similarly, in Task 2, only intrinsic cognitive load and germane cognitive load had significant effects in the model. The 2 predictors were able to account for 65.3% of the variance in the task motivation. However, in Task 3, each predictor variable had a significant effects in the model. The 3 independent variables were able to account for a total of 81.3% of the variance in task motivation. As one of the discussions of our study, the findings of the current study was only partly in line with the previous researches. Firstly, the total cognitive load of language tasks did not necessarily have an inverse relationship with task motivation, as previous literature indicated. Part of the reason might lie in the nature of the settings of this study. Unlike previous studies which were conducted mainly in the classroom, where external influences on language learning motivation included the interaction between the learners and their peers or their teachers, or the homogeneous teaching materials on each learner, etc. This study narrowed its focus on task motivation with the aid of an AI-based mobile application. So it can expand our understanding of mobile-based language learning and task designs. And the second conclusion we can draw is that the task motivation depended on the subsets of cognitive load, especially the germane cognitive load. So this results lends empirical support to the previous researchers that highly motivated learners usually have had higher levels of cognitive load. However, it should be noted that the results concerning the role of extraneous cognitive load and of intrinsic cognitive load in task motivation was less clear-cut than that of germane cognitive load. The extraneous cognitive load did not have a significant correlation with the task motivation in Task 1 and Task 2, but did in Task 3. Possible explanation may because that the extraneous cognitive load in both Task 1 and Task 2 were too low to identify their effects on the task motivation. We admit that there are 2 limitations in the current study. Firstly, we did not zoom in on the proficiency levels of the participants and the task characters, such as the task complexity and their multimodal nature, which may serve as moderators between cognitive load and task motivation. So a strong model is needed to represent, estimate, and test the relationship between all these variables. And second, as the sample size is very small, the statistical power of the analysis is limited. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. Should you have any further questions and suggestions, please feel free to contact me via this email. Thank you.